Hey everybody, this is Grace. In this video, I want to talk about some things I've been thinking about, considering this, COVID-19, this coronavirus pandemic, and some of the things, I've seen a little bit of this, but not enough. Let me get to this, and that is, we're living in a different world now than many people around my age think of it as. We're living in a world that's much more narcissistic. People are much more narcissistic. Not everyone, of course. But if you listen to a lot of videos, they say that it's like when I was young, it was 30% of people were narcissistic and 70% not. But now it's 70% are and 30% not. I still want to see research that states that. But I'm not talking about the narcissistic personality disorder, but one of the first things that you read, it's like 101, first class, is they lack empathy. Okay, they lack empathy. Okay, and what I see that so much on, like on the news and all, not totally, but they seem to be, that like the voices of authority, let me just put it that way. They seem to be appealing to emotion, compassion, empathy, to people who, too many could be narcissistic. So they lack emotion, but that's what you're appealing. Lack empathy, but you're appealing to empathy. That's not going to work. Okay, you can't say to them, okay, think about it. If you go home, you might infect somebody, an elderly person, or your parents or your grandparents or somebody else who's has some kind of predisposition. All these things, that's not going to do any good for somebody who lacks empathy. They're not going to listen to that. Especially when they say things like, at certain ages they don't have to worry as much. That's all they hear. Okay, that's all they hear. You can still, they say, you can still get it, and you can pass it on to other people, and you're not safe from it. You could be one that winds up in needing a ventilator and all this. But what they're going to hear is, we're not as much at risk. Okay, so I don't have to worry about it. And of course, this, like I've said, all of this, none of it is 100% across the board. But narcissistic people, I think many of them would hear just that, and they're not. You can't appeal to their emotions. You can't expect them to, feel empathy, express compassion. They're not going to do it. There is a good chance because they don't feel empathy. They don't think about others. They don't put themselves in other people's shoes. Now, of course, there are people out there who do feel empathy. I would say, this is just my opinion, my degrees are in psychology and sociology, that the people who do feel empathy have probably thought about this, and they see that. I don't want to give it to anybody else. Then you have people who just aren't getting it at all. Okay, they just don't get it. So yeah, telling people, you can go home and infect other people. Yeah. Or people out and you're sitting next to somewhere else. Yeah. Okay, and all this time I have seen, them do a little bit of that, like I was saying earlier, of warning the other ones, or just warning people, that the whole thing, okay, but it's not going to touch the many now. My camera's going to get hot, but the people who are narcissistic, they don't think the same way at all. They might even have the whole mentality of, that's their problem, not mine. Okay? Yeah, they might be that cold that if they get infected, oh, well, I'm young and it's not going to bother me as much. And if they get it, that's their problem, not mine. They shouldn't have done that. It's going to be turned around on they. Okay? They did it. It's their fault. It's their problem. Whatever. It's not going to be their problem. The narcissistic person's problem is, to them, it's everybody else's. So I don't think enough people get this. And what I think, really is to appeal. What would work with them is to tell them, go into more detail what could happen to them, and it doesn't have to be physically. It could be in whatever other way. Um, like many narcissistic people, much of what they do is all about them, all about money. Okay, money, power, control, um, fame, popularity. Somehow, some way, find a way that hits them in that. Okay. And now I'll say this again. We don't live in that world anymore where people will think about other people as much as, like I just said earlier, narcissistic people, if this is true, we have 70% narcissistic people, and you're expecting them to feel for others? Appeal to something other than that, other than empathy. I know it sounds awful to have to play that, but what is the real thing is these are going to be the people who infect other people. Okay, not 100% again, but because they don't care about other people. See? Other things that bother me, I was thinking about today. And that's, I've heard this, people talking about going to the stores and long lines in the stores. There needs to be something else worked out for in times of, hopefully we don't have too many times like this. But there should have been something worked out. And, okay, that's past, present. Work it out now. Figure it out now. So many people waiting in line to go into the grocery store. And I really have felt all along, like I've been saying, we get our groceries delivered. Well, they need to waive the fee for delivery, like some, because some people, they're on such a fixed income or have no income right now. That, however much the fee is for delivery plus a tip, it could be 15, 20 bucks, whatever it is. Some are less. Or, to instead waive that and say no tipping. No tipping. Pay the employees enough. Okay, enough is enough with this crap. Like waitresses, servers, they live on tips. Enough of this crap. This crap needs to stop. Okay, people need to realize they don't need to tip. They don't need to be tipping, okay, for service. Instead, you pay your employees. You pay the drivers. You pay them a good wage to do their job. Seriously, it's $7.25 here, I think, an hour? Oh my goodness, really? I was earning more than that back in the 80s. Not as an hourly, but I was earning more in the 80s. I think the hourly back then was $4.35, something like that. This is just ridiculous. But anyway, they instead have these. This is how I feel. I have no idea how many people shop at, say, one grocery store per day. Okay, so to have everything go on delivery, they might not be able to do that. Okay, because they simply would not have enough people to buy the groceries, pack the groceries, do all whatever needs to be done, and then, people to deliver. But if they did it 24 hours, would it make a difference? 24 hours a day. They had enough staff that are already working with one another, have somehow, if they are tested for it, if they've had it or they don't have it, or they temperature. I don't know how all that. I'm not a professional on how all that works. But it's still the same people working the same shifts, the same together with one another. It lessens it. I don't think anybody would be able to say that it would stop it, but lessen it, yeah. Perhaps. Who knows? But for so many people to be going into grocery stores and all that, anything that should be delivered, the same people there, whatever shift it is, first, second, graveyard, whatever. Yeah. And pay them a good wage. That whole thing, that just truly gets to me. And for the people who are delivering, they don't have to go in, they don't have to see the person at the door. They can just leave whatever it is right there. I said that when I first started doing these videos, that I was telling Adam, because he was watching that Shark Tank, and he told me to come up with something, and I said, how about something that sits on the outside of your house where, when you have delivery stuff, they can put it in there, refrigerated to the right degrees, and it can stay out there for, let the scientists figure out how long it needs to stay out there so that, you don't have to have any contact with people, and maybe if there's any kind of virus or whatever, it stayed out there long enough to kill it, or whatever it is. Scientists would have to figure that out. True scientists. Okay. Well, what about delivery? I mean, I still feel like the delivery service should not be talking to people who are in the house, and the people in the house shouldn't be talking to the people who are delivering stuff. So that social distancing, you don't have to open the door and somebody be there. They don't have to ring your doorbell. They don't have to touch anything. I know it sounds like germophobic, but that's what they're telling us to be these days, practically germophobic. But think about the safety for both sides. The person on that side of the door, the people on that side of the door, yeah. But the whole thing with tipping, that would be a problem. Or you have to sign for it. Since when, really? But tipping, no. It should be no tipping because they pay their employees enough. Really. And think about it, this would be a time when there would be a lot of activity, a lot of them doing a lot of work. Okay? You're not going to make it, or you just say, I'm going to let the people, people pay them a good salary. I'm not. That time is over. I really, truly think that time should be over. But I think I said earlier, no charge for delivery at all. How much money do you need? Seriously. People are buying. People are paying for your product. Deliver it for free. Some people, like I said, that little $9.95 or however much it's going to be a charge, even if it is per month, for some people on fixed incomes, that's a lot of money. If they're on what is it, Social Security, whatever, really, that could be a meal or two, or maybe even if they buy something that's $1, you see. But what was I saying earlier? Appealing to emotion. You got that right. Appealing to emotion. Not always a good thing. Okay, or it doesn't always work. But anyway, it's all about the money. Let's move on from there. Okay, one more thing that's bothering me, like I was watching, I've been hearing about the ships, the Mercy and Comfort, right? Which one's going where? I can't remember. But I think Comfort's going to New York. But whatever. What I wonder about is, I haven't heard enough information. I don't live in New York, or what is it, California? But I haven't heard enough, or why aren't they talking enough about, do these healthcare workers, do they live on these ships? Are they tested before they, for this fight? I mean, come on. Don't say this, we don't have enough tests. You have enough tests. Before they go into the ship, are they tested? Or they already have been tested? The people who are going on there, as far as patients, are they being tested before they go on there? Yeah. I mean, they're not saying anything about that. Something I just heard, they were saying, they didn't say that. It was like they don't think. Well, I personally would say, I don't want to hear you don't think that they have it. I want you to know that they don't have it. Okay? What is this cheapness about the test? Testing people. Come on, seriously. It just, I would like somebody to explain it. If there is a reason, a real reason other than, well, no. I want a real scientific, a real reason for why they aren't doing these kinds of tests. The testing. They only want to test people they suspect already have it. What about the people who, I've said all that before. It just, sometimes, money comes back to money. So, everything, too much these days. So that whole thing of 70% narcissistic people, I can believe it. Really. Anyway, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. But if you have any views on it, leave them in the comment section below. I'll talk to you on another video. Bye.